it's almost as if like they know they can do it if they have to, but why do it every single week if I don't have to show it to you?
Birds 365, a good show here. And we got Mike Gill coming up next here on Birds 365. He joins us right now on the show. You can follow him at Mike Gill Show. Listen to him on 97.3 ESPN down the shore, 97.5 The Fanatic in Philly on the weekends. And subscribe to his YouTube channel at Mike Gill Show. Mike, welcome to the program, brother. How you doing on this Wednesday morning?
Late night Phillies, man.
Yeah, man. Game starting at 10 p.m., Mike. I can't make it, dude. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Well, you missed a good one last night.
I know. That's what I heard. I read about it a little bit this morning when I woke. Apparently, it was a really good one.
It was worth it, but oh, man.
Yeah, those West Coast games. That's the second Monday night game. I couldn't make it to the end. I hate those staggered Monday night games. Boy, West Coast stuff is tough.
They're not doing them anymore. The rest of them, I think, are all like 7:30,
yeah,
like something like, or like 7:38, like that. They're all going to be in at the same time.
Well, Red October takes some pressure off the Eagles a little bit, but it doesn't seem to be working for Kevin Petula, who's already enemy number one of the fan base. I would argue, Mike, because the Eagles offense looks like the Eagles offense. I mean, it's not like we haven't seen this before. What are your immediate thoughts when you hear about the angst over Kevin Petula and this offense?
Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, obviously the offense hasn't looked great, but I feel like we've been having the same conversation for the last couple of years with this offense. You're wondering, with all the talent that they have, why, when you hear A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, this offensive line, it always comes back to they should score 35 points a game. Like, just roll out of bed, and with that group of players, you should be able to score whenever you feel like it, and that just hasn't been the case. They just have had issues being fluid and consistent. There's never a fluidity to this offense. It's always clunky, and you're scratching and clawing out wins. And then the big thing has always been, they do it when it counts. Third down, they've been good. They make plays, and that's the one thing that's a little perplexing. Is that okay? They won the Super Bowl, so should you complain about it now? Is it because it's a different guy calling it? Should that make you the offense lacks an explosion? And is that it's almost like the Jalen Hurts thing. When he's in these lists, he's never one of the top five because the numbers don't really look like he's a top five player, but he finds ways to win. The Eagles offense doesn't have the explosion that you want. So do you want the quarterback with 5,000 yards, 40 touchdowns when he loses, or do you want the other guy? Do you want the Eagles offense to be this explosive offense that's in a shootout possibly, or is this okay? I mean, in the end, winning is all that matters. So if you want to complain about the aesthetics of the offense, you certainly have a point. It's not a fun offense to watch at times.
Yeah, but are they Mike, I agree. And it's a tough thing to gauge, but I think we all agree they're capable of more. And in a perfect world, you want it to look like it did in the last two games of the year last year, right? And now it's not going to every week. I understand that. But I think that's this kind of ghost that they're chasing that I think fans are expecting them to be. You have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. You got Saquon Barkley, a great offensive line. You got all these weapons. And I think that's what kind of people desire. And I don't know, it just feels like, as you said, we got to like scratch and claw for every yard, every point right now. And it just feels like we got too much power for that to be the case. Now, it is early. We got time. But I do think it's fair to look at it like that.
I think ultimately it goes back to this offense is catered to what Hurts does well. They have simplified it to fit his abilities. And this goes back to the arguments of, well, he's not a top five quarterback. Well, he won the Super Bowl. How is he not a top five quarterback? Well, this is why, because this is the offense that he does well in. So there's like a chicken and the egg aspect here of why don't they do more? Well, that's not what he does well. Well, then why isn't he one of the better quarterbacks in the league? But he won the Super Bowl. Like, That's why he and this offense are so polarizing, because a lot of it is catered to what he does well. And a lot of the things that he does well is simplified. And he does well on, making these third down plays. And then they get third and short. And then they run the tush push. And it's like, that's not a very aesthetically pleasing play, obviously. So a lot of this offense over the years with all the different coordinators is all catered to him and what he does well.
Yeah,
he throws the deep ball. He throws the deep ball well.
Yeah,
so they get into these situations where he has to bail himself out. So he chucks one down the field and they connect on it. So it is very frustrating if you want to sit and watch a game where they're going to score 35 points a game. And you're right, though. If you put this offensive personnel with most quarterbacks in this league, in most offensive systems, they're going to score 35 points a game with this group of guys. I would be pretty surprised if they didn't on a weekly basis.
I've seen it with Jalen too. I've seen it with Jalen.
Personality of game. You'll see it again when they need to score. When they
I asked the question, and I'm half you're half kidding at the time, but you're almost like, do the Eagles look at Kansas City and say, this team can't score on us, they can't beat us, so we're not going to show we're not going to show anybody anything either. So we're not going to show the Rams, and we're not going to show Tampa Bay.
Well, I don't think it's about not showing. I don't think it's about that. But yes, they came into that game with the mentality of, if we don't turn this football over, we're winning this game. That's it. So they got very conservative and they scale it back. Now, normally this week, like I said, you have Puka Nacua and you have Devontae Adams, etc., Tyler Higbee, instead of what Kansas City was throwing out there, which was Tyquan Thornton and Nico, whatever his name is.
Poor Tyquan Thornton, man. He's got.
Well, he's the best. He was the wide receiver one at the end. He was the best wide receiver they had. That is going to be and I said this on Mike's show, that is going to be the worst wide receiver group the Eagles face this year, unless there's incredible injuries across the board later in the season against everybody. Literally the worst. That's the position. And that's the reason Kansas City's not typically that bad.
It's also the reason. It's also the reason that Vic Fangio dials up 11 blitzes, because he didn't think any of those receivers could get behind you and do anything. Yeah, I mean, but the whole concept of their offense is just this, like, these simple concepts, and they if they have to open it up, they will. I mean, we saw it in the Super Bowl. They scored 44 points. They did it throughout runs in the past where they've the Steeler game last year, I guess. Is that what you all wanted to see? I mean, like, it's almost as if like they know they can do it if they have to, but why do it every single week if I don't have to show it to you?
And I think the answer to that would be the ball security part of it. Well, yeah, you can throw it around, but the more you throw it around, the more susceptible you are to a Travis Kelce play. Bounce ball going the other way. Yeah. That's just the nature of the passing game.
The difference is you don't have Thornton as your top target.
Well, right? That's true.
You've got guys,
and that's why I think it's almost in a counterintuitive way. I said it's almost if you're Kevin Patullo and you're by yourself and you're in your dark thoughts, you're probably, boy, I hope they score a little bit so it can show something that we can score. Because that's the only way it's going to happen, and I think it will happen, and I think it happened. But to your point about the top 10 list and all that bullshit, which people put too much emphasis on, I'm like, if you don't like one list, go to the next list. But the more reputable ones, and I would say Mike Sando, the tier, speaking to executives, speaking to coaches, Jeremy Fowler as well, those are the two most reputable. And Jalen's like 8 or 9 or wherever he landed on those particular lists. To me, it's the simplest, and I probably talked to you. I've certainly talked to Zander about. It's the simplest explanation ever. If you're the freaking Jacksonville Jaguars, or I've been picking on them lately, or another crap, the Carolina Panthers. I'll ship to the Carolina Panthers. Would you rather have insert name Matthew Stafford, or would you rather have Jalen Hurts? To me, it's the simplest answer ever. Well, I can't play like the Eagles, so I'm going to take Matthew Stafford to try to win 7 games. That, to me, it's simple.
Right.
Like the Eagles built, to your point.
See, I thought you were walking me down a road to say that you would take Jalen Hurts, and I was going to say I think most people would take the other guy because they deem that guy can.
I'm talking about
executives
from an executive mindset, from a coaching mindset. I can't play that way.
Yeah, it's way harder to win to build the right roster needed to play their style.
Then it ends up making your margin of error to be so small to win the game. I mean, if Kelsey catches that pass, we're having a possibly completely different conversation. I mean, Kansas City is just so inept offensively, which is crazy to say. This is a team that's been to the Super Bowl 3 straight years, and they have some of the main components of those Super Bowl teams, and yet you're watching them, and you're just like, I don't feel there's any way this team can beat us. Like it was almost sad watching them.
Mike, and to your exact point there, this is why I think, me included, and maybe many other, I don't want to speak for anybody but myself, but desires that, we've seen it in the Super Bowl. We saw it in the NFC Championship game. We saw it versus Pittsburgh last year. Why not impose your will and beat teams to a pulp and get your high power? Like, why let other teams, and John, to your point, the personality of the game dictate the way you play? Bullshit. We got AJ, Devontae, Dallas Goedert, Saquon, the offensive line. You dictate the narrative. You dictate. Why? I don't get why they don't try and play that way, because, Mike, as you say, that would increase your margin for error. You'd be beating teams you'd be beating teams bad if you were playing like that every week. Well, now, I know it's hard. I know it's a perfect world to assume they could do that, but I do think that should be the North Star. That should be the goal.
The game that stands out is the Washington game. They scored 55 points in that game against Washington and barely threw the ball anywhere. I mean, they just absolutely everything was just short, quick, between the numbers. They had a Saquon run here, and that's kind of what it is. But I don't doubt at all that if they had, I don't know, you put Ben Johnson in here to let him run his offense with the Eagles, and they're scoring 38 points a game with this team. So it is a wild concept that we're having this discussion with a team that we know is really good, that's 2-0, and then the coordinator's getting just lambasted yesterday with questions about the lack of explosion in the offense.
Well, they have been. I mean, and the only 2 statistics the Eagles care about, I talk about all the time. They call it the double positive, the turnover ratio, and the explosive play battle. And they've won the turnover ratio, lost the explosive play battle. When you win them both, you win like 95% of the game. It's astonishing how many games you win. And that's their goal. The problem, a lot of the problem, they got so many explosive plays from to your point at the Washington game, they got so many explosive plays from the running game last year. But obviously, common sense, it's much more difficult to get an explosive play from a running game in a normal situation than the passing game. So,
and everything is simple. And then when we have to take a shot down the field, it's all because you remember a couple of years ago when Hurts was having these turnover problems, he kept turning the ball over.
Well, last year at the first 4 games, that's the reason they scaled it back.
Right. There was this streak of games where he just kept turning the ball over. So now they've scaled it back so much so that you're just not going to turn the ball over, and then we'll let you throw the ball down the field every once in a while because we'll surprise the team when you actually do throw the ball down the field. And then we have the element of this big home run hitting back. The only offense that seemingly was a little bit more challenging for defenses when Steichen was here. They had a lot heavier RPO. That RPO is kind of dissipated for the most part because Hurts just doesn't run really. And now he's getting asked about how come there's no designed runs for the quarterback, because that part of the offense seemingly is not here. So at that stage in 2022, it really catches some teams by surprise a little bit. And now here we are a couple of years later. They've seen that. They've kind of defended that a little bit better. And okay, now we're going back to the safety, squeeze, it looks like.
Yeah, well, I think, and this is where Vic is a positive as well for people like me, because we can say it and nobody listens to us. But when he says it, people gravitate towards it. One of the other things he said yesterday was because he doesn't blitz, and all of a sudden he's blitzing for him all over the place, not like Steve Spagnuolo, and he pointed out, and which I pointed out many times over the years, Mike, and Jonathan Gadden used to point this out as well when he was criticized for not blitzing. They're always in. In other words, they're always in the game plan. They're there. They're there.
What did he get asked yesterday? What do you have? Were some of those blitzes in the, like in your back pocket from last year's Super Bowl you just didn't use? Like
he said they were in for the Super Bowl. He didn't need them.
I didn't need them.
If you get pass rush with 4 like you did in the Super Bowl and you're blitzing, you're a moron. Vic Fangio is not a moron when it comes to defensive football. The point he was trying to make is they're always in if you need them. And Jonathan Gannon would say the same thing. Nobody.
The other best part of Vic yesterday, and then Peyton Manning on the Manning cast the other night. Peyton Manning's like, I don't think I made an offensive adjustment in 18 years. It's the most overrated thing that I've ever heard. He's like, I'm eating oranges at halftime. There's no halftime adjustments being made here.
Yeah.
But Vic also saying it takes me time just to get down off the elevator, and then I got to get back up the elevator.
It's the biggest myth in football. It is halftime adjustments. I also brought that up at the beginning of the show because when Vic says it, people will listen.
Right.
It just you're making adjustments from the first series to the second series. If you're not
through every series, when you're not calling plays and the offense has the ball, you are now going through what can we do to kind of change things if we have to. And we saw it in the first week of the season. They had to make changes and adjustments on the fly because Jalen Carter got booted from the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vic is as far as I'm concerned, he's a national treasure. And we should protect him at all costs because he tells the truth. Mainly, he didn't tell the truth at the end when it came to starters and things like that. He was cut off by the Eagles.
They got to him. Yeah, they got to him finally.
He generally tells the truth, and he had a big shot of sodium pentothal. What is it? True serum. Before yesterday's press conference, so it was interesting. But to Kevin's standpoint, the offense, just to wrap it up, like, and Zander saying they should impose their will. Look, that's how the Eagles play, man. They're trying to impose their will, but they're trying to impose it with the running game. And when the running game is not generating those explosive plays, then it becomes a grind.
It's like you can say mindset, John. Like,
well, it is from the and that's what same thing when you can call it that. I call it margin of error. Yeah, you're decreasing your margin of error, but they found this way. That's my whole point is the rest of the league can't play this way. But there are little things like here's my biggest criticism of the Eagles offense in Kansas City. My biggest criticism. They don't have Dallas Goedert. They're running 12 personnel 34 times, I think it was. 34 times. With Grant Calcaterra and Kylan Granson and a little bit of Cam Latu, who, is a better blocker than both of them. But why?
Right.
That's the kind of stuff where I'm like, all right, that's to Zander's point about imposing your will. They're like, well, we'll just put in Grant and we'll do what we did with Dallas Goedert. That's the hubris they have as an organization. That to me is
you would think, okay, Goddard's not here. Let's get a little bit more 11 and get Dotson out there more and get them into nickel and have them on their heels all game because this is where they had problems,
Yeah, and then you have the first play gets blown up because Calcaterra misses a block.
I know.
It's like, well, should we have expected Calcaterra to make the block? The guy can't block. He's never been able to block. Why should we expect him to block now? Because Goddard's hurt.
That to me is the most legitimate criticism.
That makes sense, John.
And that stems from being too confident in yourself and saying, well, we'll just go to the next guy.
We talk about this a lot in baseball where, people get mad. Why did they bring this pitcher in the game? Why him right now? And it's like, well, if I don't see him do it in a game in the 7th inning, then I'll never be able to use him in this. Like, I have to see if he can go from the 5th inning guy to become the 7th inning guy. So the Eagles might be saying, look, we have to be able to run some of this stuff, whether Goddard's here or not. If he gets hurt long term, we can't just throw this stuff out of the playbook. So we might as well try it and get these guys game opportunities in doing it.
Well, that's possible, but I do think that the level of usage has to shift a little bit. Like, I'm not saying don't play.
Right, but you can do it. You can do it once you get up 28-3, and then try to do those things. Hey, exactly. We've now got a little bit of a cushion here. Let's try to see if we can run some of this stuff that we would run with Dallas in the game.
And to point about, your baseball point, I think the most valuable baseball point with relievers that people miss, they don't have rubber arms. You might have pitched 2 innings a day ago. You can't just go out and pitch 2 innings in perpetuity.
Right.
You got sometimes guys aren't available, guys are available. That's the thing about and translating that to football. The mentality that, he's up, he's playing, so he's 100%. Landon Dickerson being an example right now. So maybe you can't do things from a normal perspective because of what he's going through. And as you get later in the season, a bunch of guys are banged up and you're trying to get through things. So there's a lot of intricacies to it that aren't on the surface. But this early in the season, you probably should change your mindset a little bit when you lose a player like Dallas Goedert. But for Kevin, I go back to my original point, man. He needs somebody to score some damn points so he can prove he can score some points. Because otherwise, they're just going to be conservative and not turn it over and get to the finish line. And everybody's going to go, damn, that was ugly.
Well, we did see a lot of time, right? The offensive line was giving Hurts plenty of time. And then, so when you're watching that on television as a fan, you're seeing that he's got time to throw the ball.
This fan base is not prepared for that conversation. I don't want to go down that route.
Just saying.
The ball doesn't come out when it should. It just doesn't.
Yeah. I don't agree with you that the fan base isn't ready for the conversation. Bullshit. We're all growing here. We can have the conversation.
Well, you've been on this show. You've been on the show long enough to know they're not prepared for that conversation.
That's what you're watching the game and you see that he's standing back there and he's just jumping up and down and looking all around. Are guys not open, or are the route concepts just so basic that, hey, they're just doing backyard stuff, swinging back and forth, going here, there, and everywhere, just saying, hey, here, get it. Like that is the frustrating part when you watch this offensive, when you talk about there's just no fluidity in it, which, we've had this discussion for the last 5 years.
Yeah. So should we go down the tush push route? That's you.
Oh, John, you told me you weren't going to do it.
I'm not going to personally do it, but it's such a big story. Schefter's out there talking about it. Mike Greenberg's out there talking about it.
Everybody now. I mean,
and I, Mike asked me the question on his show. I'm forced to talk about it. So to me, look, it's gone. Enjoy it while it's here. The Eagles are great at it. They'll also be great at the traditional quarterback sneak. It is not the reason they win football games. It's not the reason they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a very successful play for them. They don't need it. From a business perspective, the NFL is right. It's a television property. It involves more than Philadelphia. They need it out of the game. They should have never put it back in the game, which is my original argument dating back to the Bush push in college. It was dumb to go down this road. It took a long time for a team to take advantage of it. The Eagles did. There's nothing wrong with it. Those are the rules as currently constructed. But this mentality of, they're trying to derail the Philadelphia Eagles. That is where I differ from everybody. That's complete and utter bullshit.
The Eagles are almost at the point now where they're almost taunting you with it, right? They run it 7 times, and it's like, we're just going to keep doing it because we know it gets under your skin. We know it annoys everybody. And that gets there at the point now where they know it's coming to the end, so they're just going to use it all up.
Who are the Eagles trolling?
Their opponent.
Well, they're trolling the people who voted against it,
and they're trolling their opponent. I mean, there's nothing worse than lying.
I heard Sean McVay talk about it. I heard Andy talk about it. Sean's already talking about it. They know they can't stop it. They know where it is.
I do feel like the Eagles have didn't they used to only do it on 4th down? Now it's like 3rd and 1, and they're lining.
Oh, they do it. I mean, they'll do it.
It's a down and distance thing.
They'll do it on 3rd and 2, knowing they're going to go on it on 4th down. So a lot of times it's unsuccessful. I put that in quotations on 3rd and 2, and they get the 4th and 1, and then they get 4th and 1. So to me, that's successful.
The biggest I thought, obviously Schefter comes out and says that, and that has everybody riled up to hear someone of his stature.
Well, that was a dumb statement. That was
right.
To make the game was lost in March. I guess shut up.
But when Blandino says
that was the best. That's where I am.
I'm done with this tush push because but when he
they can't officiate it.
You can't officiate the play. That is when the league says, "Whoa, now that's something that stands out." You can't stop it or blah blah blah. You can't officiate it. That now is a problem, not for the other team. It's for the people trying to legislate the action. And they're saying, I don't know where the play starts or ends or where to put the ball. There's a fumble. I mean, who the hell knows if the guy actually got that ball cleanly somewhere as he's backwardsing air surfing on the pile. And then, you don't know when the play is dead, because inevitably somebody comes and just keeps pushing the pile forward. So it's a play that I've said, look, everybody watching this show, if you are being objective and you were not an Eagles fan and they just said, hey, everybody, watch this play. What do you think? You'd say this play is ridiculous. There's no way this play should be legal.
Well, that's my argument. There is not an objective person in this world. And I'm sorry.
And I'm not saying, I'm not saying I want them to get rid of this play. If the Eagles are utilizing the play and it's successful for them, use it as much as possible because it's in the rules. I'm just saying, if I was a football fan and I had no allegiance to any team and you just sat in a room and someone hit play and said, what do you think of this play? You'd say, well, that play isn't fair. You got 2 running backs pushing a guy. The defense can't push back. Sometimes
the thing is just take away the dudes from behind Jalen and let him do it. He's gonna get
it anyway. That's been my point from the Eagles. The Eagles have been great at the traditional quarterback sneak forever, dating back to the Carson Wentz days. They were 100% the one year with Carson Wentz running a traditional quarterback sneak, 100 freaking percent. In 2021. Their before they started using it, their success rate with the traditional quarterback sneak with Jalen was better than it was last year with the tush push. I mean, it doesn't. They're going to be just as good. It's not going to affect them, and that's not even the point. To Mike's point, it's the objectivity of the game, and it's about the game. It's not about the Philadelphia Eagles. It's about the game as a whole. And I believe pushing shouldn't be. I see it all over. And again, forget about the tush push. You shouldn't be able to push guys 10 yards down the field on a normal play. Could be a pass play where everybody gets together and starts pushing. That used to be illegal.
Yeah.
People don't realize that. Yeah, for the vast majority of the history of the NFL, that was illegal. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, and by the way, the reason was stupid NFL, feel free to criticize. They said, well, that's too hard to officiate it. So, and they opened this freaking Pandora's box.
Well, and it's like conversely, they made rules for the defense that they can't get leverage. Like the guy can't put his hands on the nose guard and like leapfrog over top of them because you can't get leverage. the offense is getting leverage that the defense isn't allowed to get. That's why the play is, in my mind,
and by the way, all over the field, not just tush push. It's not about all over the field. Pushing should be banned on offense.
Yeah, guys in the open field, and you just, the way they set up it too, it makes it this whole scene. And now you got the overhead camera looking at these 11, 22 guys just like all in a thing. I mean, now
those are now the pictures all over social media. All 5 offensive linemen off sides. I'm like, oh, God,
remember, Mike's been watching football. Remember when your forward progress was stopped as a running back and they blow the whistle? Now you'll see, watch any other game. You'll see a guy get a nice 4 or 5 yard run, and you go, oh, it's going to be 2nd and 5. No, they don't blow the whistle, and they keep pushing them down the field, and all of a sudden it's 2nd and 1 or 3rd. Yeah. It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. It's again. I think basically you're at the end of the line with the play, because, well, the question would be the league, if the same people vote the same way, or does the league doesn't have the power just to say, you know what, we're making an executive decision here and just banning the play. Can they do that?
Yeah, they can do whatever they want. They banned, to the point. And by the way, this is another point. Yeah, and this is what I brought up, Vic saying about the acclimation period training camp. I don't know if you heard that, but it was phenomenal. He's like, how stupid is that? Darius Smith can come in off his couch and play right away in the regular season. Why can't he start training camp like that? Chance Campbell comes in 2 days. He can play right away. But no, you have to have an acclimation. Why? Hey, look at us. Look at we care about the player's health. No, they don't. They care about you thinking that they care about the player's health. And they put these, PR policies in place. That's what they were trying to do with the tush push. Everybody blames the Packers. Oh, they want to ban their – no, the NFL didn't want to put it. They want somebody else. They do this all the time. And they get a team to sponsor a rule, and they test it. And they say, how is this going to go over? It's like in politics, it's a trial balloon. How is this going to go over? And obviously it went over like a lead balloon with their wording of it. But ultimately they test it out. Then they go back and draw back, and they'll just give it to the competition committee. The competition committee will now say, hey, can't officiate it. And everybody will vote on it.
Buying a conspiracy that was the message to the refs and to everybody, because that 3 years I never heard that they couldn't officiate it. I never heard that. Now it's like 2 games in, they can't officiate.
Well, I can tell you only from personal. I was saying, and I said it immediately after the game, this is an absolute shit show. And I feel like Dean Blandino in live and in color was the same way. He was like, this is ridiculous. This is. Landon Dickerson jumped offside. They missed it. Kansas City lined up offside. They missed it. Somebody on Kansas City, I don't know because everybody's so jumbled up, tried to swipe the ball away from Cam Jurgens. They missed it. They missed everything on both sides of the football. It
started last year with Frankie Louvu on, going off sides 3 times in a row. I mean, that was where you're just trying to like disrupt the play by timing it. And then this week, I mean, the whole thing with because that's the one thing is when you line up for a traditional quarterback sneak, the formation is not completely different. You're just still running a normal looking play. This play has a completely different look to it where it then causes the defense to just bottle up. So you have this whole jamming of the players, and then everybody's trying to get as low as possible. So because they're getting so low, you got like helmets on top of helmets there. Everybody's off sides. I mean, everybody's in the neutral zone.
It is so obvious that it's got to be out of the game. And look, I get it's not going to work in this city. I get, McMullen hates the Eagles. I love the Eagles. Not in that sense. I don't care if they win or lose, but I love so many people that work for the organization. I have so much respect for people that work with the organization. so many of the players I get to cover. I root for them personally. Objectively, the play's got to go, guys. It's got to go. And it's not going to impact the Eagles.
I already know it's going this year. This year.
It's not even going to impact the Eagles. They're still going to be the best quarterback sneak team in the NFL. I firmly believe that.
Mike, last question for me, brother. Am I an Eagle curmudgeon? Do I need to just embrace, Mike, how we play? Do I need to just stop dreaming of A.J. Brown running free with 130 yards and 2 touchdowns, Devontae Smith catching deep balls? Do I have to just let it go and embrace it, Mike? Or am I right to want and desire more from the Eagles offense? What do you think, Mike?
Well, both obviously can be true. I mean, imagine a world where 2 things can actually be true at once. So what an unbelievable place. There's not just absolutes in every single discussion.
What a complex world we live in.
What a world, I think that you could wish that the team was more aesthetically pleasing, but also be thrilled to death that you have what you have because it's the best for now. I mean, listen, the Chiefs had a run of a decade and had success. That's where the Eagles are trying to get to. They got to a level, but I said before, to get to that next level, you win the back-to-backs. Like that puts you in the memorable status. People will always remember this Chiefs era. Will they remember this Eagles era or just that one team? That's what you're fighting at right now. And how do you keep the sustainability of we don't want to be good one year. We don't want to be good, they won a Super Bowl in 2017 and then again in 2024. Are you going to look back at a era of Eagles football, though, and say, you remember those Eagles teams from 2025 to 2035? That's what you're trying to get right now. And to do that, it's very difficult. So they're winning and piling up. You've won 18 out of 19 straight games or, 19 games right now. It's totally crazy. But if you don't end up winning another Super Bowl, how are people going to remember this era of Eagles football? I don't know. So enjoy it while you're winning all these games en route to try to get to that level of organization.
Nicely said, Mike Gill. A little bit of politicking there, but it came out well. Good stuff there. John, any other question? You good for Mike?
Yeah, at Mike Gill Show. Make sure you follow Mike on the X platform. Subscribe to his YouTube page, 97.3 Down the Shore. 97.5 The Fanatic on the weekends up in the Philadelphia area if you want to listen to him there. Boy, I always I gotta be really disciplined there, Mike. 97.3, 97.5. I don't know how you do it. I'd go back and forth. I gotta be.
I've never actually messed it up, but it is one tick of the dial. It's,
yeah. You gotta be really disciplined, like the Eagles offense. Maybe too disciplined. Maybe you got to take a shot once in a while. Take a shot
every now and then. The big thing too with this offense is every once in a while they let you have it, right? You can enjoy that.
Oh yeah.
It's like getting a quarterly bonus, right? You just kind of every once in a while you kind of hey, look at all that money.
Well, hey, like I said, it's counterintuitive, but hope the Rams score some points and you'll see some offense. I guarantee it. Counterintuitive. You want that though? Do you want that?
Right. Do you want the defense to not have a good day and now you're in a shootout game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what ends up happening. Mike, good stuff, man. Excuse me. We appreciate you joining in today. We'll talk to you again next week. Good stuff, brother.
See you guys.